I'm going to put in the disclaimer that my internet has not been my friend today. So if I mute out and it has to be passed off, just know that I am so, so grateful for you all to be here tonight, and so very grateful that we are joined tonight by the Speaker of the House, Nancy. Such a fangirl of yours from days even before Joe was in my life and a part of this political world here. Thank you for everything that you have done as a leader on issues across the spectrum. Thank you for the master class in political chess that you have given all of us over the longest 4 years of any of our lives. And thank you so very much for your support for Joe. It means the world to me. It means the world to us. And we are so grateful that you were behind him in this campaign. And to everyone tonight, again, thank you for joining us. We are 7 days out from September 1st. That is so exciting. Thanks for everything that you've been doing for Joe for the last year that we've been at this. And we are so excited to be running with you as we approach that finish line in just a couple days. It has not been an easy road for any of us, but it is going to make the win that much more exciting when those results come in. So thank you for all that you have done, for all that you will continue to do. We are so very grateful. And with that, I am going to stop talking and pass it off.
You were doing great. So thank you, Lauren. As always, thank you for joining, and thank you to all of you for coming. I think, Madam Speaker, it goes without saying, you broke the record for us for a Zoom. It is 600 or close to 600 and counting, and I am beyond grateful to you for your support, for your friendship, for your mentorship, for your guidance, for the example you set. And I know one of our student fellows, Anna, has the honor of introducing you tonight, and I'm going to kick it to her in a second. But I did just want to share one story that I think when you have the honor of having the support of the speaker, trying to think of how you could characterize her in the ways that exemplify who she is, tell the story of what she means, and to our country and to a Democratic caucus and to our government. And you've all seen those iconic images, not just in the burnt orange jacket that we had up on the screen, but from her in the cabinet room, standing up and speaking truth to power to this administration, as she has to so many times and so many people. One of my personal favorites comes with the young girl that is now sitting on Lauren's lap, our daughter Eleanor. And Madam Speaker, you might remember this story, but it is etched in my memory and always will be. We had the honor of hosting the speaker for some support for a number of Democratic candidates last summer, and she was down at my grandmother's home, and I was welcoming everybody there. There was probably about 100 people or so, and we had a small little microphone as I was addressing the crowd, and our daughter Eleanor came up and I was sitting on a staircase, and she happened to grab the microphone from me because she wanted to say something. And in front of 100 people, grabbed the microphone and then paused and giggled a little bit and said hi. And without missing a beat, the speaker chimed in, "Never give up the mic, Ellie. Never give up the mic." And Speaker, you would be proud to know that she hasn't. And I think I can speak for all of us when I say, it's not that you haven't given up the mic, it's that you have always chosen to use that mic to strengthen our country, for folks that who are too often overlooked and unseen and unheard, that whether it is in every corner of our nation and standing up for human rights and women's rights around the world, that you have always sought to use your power to empower others. And it is the model of what public service should be, and what this job is all about. So I'm grateful for your friendship and mentorship. I'm grateful for the example that you set for little girls like Eleanor, in ways that you've heard that a million times over. But from a proud dad, I wanted to speak to you about that as well. So thank you. And I want to kick it to another person who I know was so incredibly excited because she was so giddy about this opportunity a couple minutes before you got on. And one of our incredible student fellows, Anna Flaherty, who's going to give the formal introduction. Anna, we're grateful for you, for your help, for your work, and so thrilled to have you tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. My name's Anna Flaherty, and I'm a sophomore at Boston College. I'm also a fellow for the Kennedy for MA campaign in the digital department. So I'm a young woman on this campaign, and I'm working with so many other bright young women, and I'm honored to be a part of tonight's event for that reason. Over the course of my work with the Kennedy for Massachusetts campaign, I've helped to build a group of volunteers who are dedicated to keeping the digital space in this race as positive as possible. I'm immensely proud of the work all of our volunteers have done, but especially the work of our student volunteers. They put so much effort into uplifting and empowering others, and everyone involved with the Kennedy for Massachusetts campaign will be forever grateful. Both women and young people sit at the crux of our Democratic coalition. And throughout his time in the House and throughout this campaign, Congressman Kennedy has listened to the voices of young women and then returned to the House with an ambition to champion women's issues. One of the reasons I support Joe is because of his unwavering support of codifying Roe v. Wade into law. As I've grown up, I've seen states across the country relentlessly push to limit the reproductive rights of women like myself. It's crucial that our senator from Massachusetts has an unwavering history of fighting for women's issues. Congressman Kennedy's work on women's issues has earned him the support of women from all over the political world. He has the support of a woman like myself, a 19-year-old campaign fellow, and the support of women like one of the most powerful women in America, Madam Speaker Nancy Pelosi. I'm sure, like many women my age, I have looked up to Speaker Pelosi for as long as I've been conscious of politics. In 2016, when I was 15, when my high school friends and I were coming to terms with the way the man who would hold our highest office treated women, Speaker Pelosi became a light in a political world that felt ever gloomy. Watching her challenge our nation's leader as he attempted to regress vast swaths of progress brought me and still brings me so much hope. All of us involved in this campaign, from volunteers to interns and fellows and to Joe himself, are so proud to have Speaker Pelosi's support in this race. And as she continues to make history in the House, her words of encouragement mean the world to us. And I'm so proud to introduce one of my greatest role models and one of our most powerful voices, Madam Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you so much, Anna. How lovely of you to be so kind. I accept your kind words on behalf of my House Democrats who are so courageous and would take such pride in seeing what you had to say tonight about me and them. I am honored to be with you to honor Joe Kennedy. I'm so happy to hear about how you are working digitally for the Joe Kennedy Massachusetts internship, and that you are working with so many other young women as well. Particularly gratifying in this week when we observe the 100th anniversary of women having the right to vote. And when it happened, people said, women given the right to vote. No, they weren't given, they fought for it. They fought for it. So when I was saying to Eleanor, to Ellie, don't give up the mic, I was speaking to all women in that regard because we've had to cross that threshold, many of us in our lives. As with you, I'm honored to be here to support Joe Kennedy, and I'm here to tell you why. I wrote to someone recently and said, I just couldn't be prouder. It would take me too long to write all this. Call me when you have a lot of time, and I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you all why now. Lauren, it's wonderful to be with you and hear your involvement in the campaign, to see Ellie, adorable, getting bigger there, and her little brother. So in terms of Joe, here's the thing. I first saw Joe, I saw him when he was a little boy, but I saw him on the campaign trail at a women's event during the campaign. And what impressed me so was that he listened. He listened. And he listened when women spoke. Many elected officials, women elected, who had been elected to office were there, but some women who were aspiring to that, or people who just wanted to be able to unleash their own power. He listened to what their needs were, whether it was the power of their own reproductive health, whether it was the power that they could reach their fulfillment if there were some very important issue, the issue of child care. This to me is as the mother of 5 and grandmother of 9, it is the unleashing of women to be able to have the comfort of quality, affordable child care for the children. But anyway, he listened so attentively. He made it his own, as part of his value system, but now we had more personal stories, and the personal stories, of course, are the strength of it all. So he won elective office, he came to Congress, and he brought with him not only his own vision for the future, not only his knowledge of issues, not only his strategic thinking about how to get things done. Yes, we know he had that, but he brought his representation of his constituents, fresh, current, specific, to the Congress, enriched by that, enlightened by that. So when he came there, and I saw him in the campaign a number of other times, but that was my introduction. And I was quite frankly, just not only impressed, but so happy as a woman in politics to see this person with all of this promise and the rest, listening, making it part of his own value system. So when he came to the Congress, it was great for us because he knew his why. He knew why he was coming. He knew what he wanted to achieve and knew the particulars of it. Again, he always had a plan, and people always looked to him. He had natural leadership. People always looked to him. But what I admired the most, and why I'm so excited to support him, he had courage. And a lot of people have ideas and they have conviction and they have commitment, but do they have the courage of their commitment to make the fight, to take a chance? He had courage. And I am particularly grateful because this interest that other members had in hearing what he had to say was pointed out so well in the election of 2018, when members from all over the country asked him to come to their districts. And he did. And he helped us win the House to gain the majority. And he did so by electing many more women and people of color to the House of Representatives. So not only did he have the vision, the knowledge, and the strategic thinking, and the courage and the authenticity of representing his district, he also had the political astuteness to know how to help these people win, and they have. And that's why I'm so pleased to join over 60 members of the House of Representatives, including the House Democratic leader, Mr. Steny Hoyer, and many members, many women of color who are supporting Joe Kennedy for this seat. It is a joy to behold, because elections are about the future, and how do we take our country into the future for the children. It's always about the children. And so when I watched Joe at work on what he's doing in the Energy and Commerce Committee about climate, which is the challenge, the intellectual challenge of our time to address the climate crisis, he's right there in the lead. When we talk about healthcare, which is the overwhelming issue in the campaign, it was in 2018, it is now exacerbated because we have a pandemic. He's right on the Committee of Jurisdiction, Energy and Commerce. You wouldn't know by the name, but it is the Central Committee for Healthcare. in the Congress, but he wanted to be there for the health and the well-being of our country. He wanted to be there for the saving the planet for future generations, because as I say, elections are about the future. I could spend a long time, and I'll tell you to call me if you have a lot of time for me to go over so many reasons specific to issues, but also demonstrated by the story he will tell from home, from his constituents, because he is there as if he's sitting right at the kitchen table with them, just stood up and went to the podium and told their story, representative, and now to be senator from Massachusetts. So of course he has all the, shall we say, of the Kennedys, but he has something else. He has humility. That is a trait that you don't hear said about politicians too much, but Joe has the humility to listen, to learn, to respect other people's views. And that's why he's respected so much in our caucus. That's why so many members are supporting him. And that's why he commands respect across the aisle in our House and across the Capitol as well. So I'm proud to be here with all of you. I want to hear more from reports from the field about the campaign. And I want to bring again the greetings of so many members of Congress to all of you. It's rare for me to make this kind of an endorsement from higher office. None of my colleagues, I support my colleagues. That's not unusual. But what is unusual is to do so in such a high profile race, a race where the future is at stake and where Joe's courage to run was so important to the future, and where his victory will make a big difference for our country, for our future, for the children. With that, I'm pleased to yield and thank Joe again for the opportunity for me to share some thoughts with you about the enthusiasm of so many of us in Congress about our colleague, Joe Kennedy.
Thank you, Speaker. Beyond words, beyond words. Grateful to you. DA Harrington, first report from the field. Grateful.
Good evening, Speaker Pelosi. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Andrea Harrington. I am the Berkshire District Attorney. Berkshire County is a community in Western Massachusetts. I was elected in 2018. I'm part of a reform group of district attorneys like Dinah Becton from Contra Costa and Chesa Boudin from San Francisco, who are dear colleagues of mine. And I just am so appreciative to the Speaker for this endorsement, because her words just speak the truth that the people here in Western Mass who are part of Joe's campaign have known about Joe. And this is why we're working and fighting so hard for Joe, and what the Speaker says about Joe being in the community, listening to constituents, and taking their voices to Washington, and to fighting for us and for our children and for the future of our communities and our children. And the Speaker just highlights those traits so beautifully. And I think also the Speaker's endorsement really speaks to how important this race is, not just to people here in Western Massachusetts and people across the state of Massachusetts, but to this country. And the way that Joe went out and fought for candidates running for the House and flip seats and turn the House blue is what we need to make sure happens in the Senate, and that we continue, that we defeat Trump, but that we continue to fight to bring a democratic agenda across the country. So we really are incredibly grateful to the Speaker for her support. In Western Massachusetts, Joe is peaking at just the right time in this campaign. We can feel the energy building. We can feel it across the neighborhoods. I feel it at the doors. We see it at rallies and standouts. Joe has been to Berkshire County many, many times. He did a 24-hour tour and made it all the way out here to Western Massachusetts, and we're really grateful. And Joe has received some newspaper endorsements. He received the endorsement from the Berkshire Eagle and the endorsement from the Springfield Republican. I'm going to read you a little quote from the Springfield Republican endorsement. The sitting senator, one could reasonably argue, seems sometimes to have forgotten that those in the upper chamber are elected to serve both the nation and their home state. He has increasingly focused on the former, but not always on the latter, and even less so when it comes to Western Massachusetts. And this is an argument that really resonates with voters across our community, because we absolutely feel like we have been left behind in the Massachusetts booming economy. Western Mass is, we're really struggling. So we deserve a senator who will show up and be here and who will fight for us. Right now, this campaign is in full swing. We're dropping lit, we're having standouts. It's a basically hand-to-hand combat for voters right now, and we're bringing it. Everybody who wants to be engaged can be engaged in terms of making phone calls, text banking. We're writing letters to the editor. So please, people, like, this is when your work and your voice really matters in this race. So people from Western Massachusetts who want to get involved, who want to see this fight to the finish, please reach out to the campaign. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Mark LeBeau. We want to hear from you because we need to work to elect Joe, because he's going to fight for us. He's going to fight for criminal justice reform. He's going to fight so that our families have access to mental health care. He's going to fight for the future and for the children who are being left behind by remote learning. This race is key to our future. And I wanted to let you know that you're going to get a toolkit. Everybody who's on this call is going to get a toolkit via email. And you've got to vote. You've got to get your friends to vote. And then you've got to make your phone calls and leave the door hangers. So next, we're going to hear from another hero of mine. And Speaker Pelosi, I just want you to know you are my spiritual mother. And Yvonne Spicer, who is the mayor of Framingham, she's my spiritual aunt. So to be sandwiched in between the two of you is truly an honor. So Mayor Spicer, please give us the update from Framingham.
Thank you, Andrea. And first of all and foremost, I thank you for that wonderful honor. Speaker Pelosi, I can't tell you how much joy and how much of a sense of pride I have with so many amazing women in leadership. And, and I harken back to my growing up days in Brooklyn, New York. And growing up in Brooklyn, my congresswoman was Shirley Chisholm. So who knew this little girl at 6 years old when I met her, the spark would be inspired in me to lead and continue to lead. And I look at my work as the first mayor of the city of Framingham. It's a daunting task, the one that I have held with great regard. And part of this election is that, it's really not difficult to support Joe, because really the easiest thing to say about him, he shows up. He shows up and he stands for justice. I've known Joe for over 10 years, and our work takes us back to my STEM days as the Vice President of Museum of Science, and doing that work, but also making sure that he also went to the bat, not only for girls, but children of color to have great access to STEM equipment and learning. And that's something that I never forget. Recently, we all experienced a tremendous blow to witness 8 minutes and 46 seconds of someone being murdered. And I must say, as a leader, I had never experienced something so horrific. And I had to girden up my loins and be able to lead my city and how to help my city heal through this. But I did remember one thing. I got a phone call, and I got a phone call from Joe Kennedy to say, Mayor, how are you doing? How are you doing? And that made a tremendous difference for me, because I'm doing better, because I know leaders like Joe Kennedy will do an amazing job for us as our next state senator from Massachusetts. And as we look at central Massachusetts, the momentum is on fire. He was here. He's been here. He shows up. The standouts, the door knocking, the ways and lit drops that are happening. People are inspired My community is 30% people of color, Latino, African American, Asian, and a huge Brazilian community. And they came out. You saw people coming out from their workplaces to greet him, to tell him a wonderful story, to share some history with him. The energy that is here in Central Massachusetts is phenomenal. And as I said, and when I spoke several weeks ago, we have got to keep the pedal to the metal. You cannot deviate, look sideways, keep moving forward. We are in this to win it, and we have to act like we're on fire and run like the wind, because at the end of the day, Joseph Kennedy will be our next senator if we do the work. We got to put in the work. We cannot stand on the sidelines. So let's go Central Mass. Let's make sure we do our part in order to make sure Joseph P. Kennedy is the next senator from Massachusetts. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for being here. And we'll pass it on to Judith.
Thank you, Mayor Spicer. Muy buenas noches a todos. Good evening, everyone. As a good Latina, I will thank you, Madam Speaker, for all the work that you've done for Latino communities. And I will say that it is an honor, es un honor como Latina, como funcionaria pública, to support Joe Kennedy and also give a special report on everything that's going on in the greater Boston area, but also in our Latinx communities. And to echo what Mayor Spicer has so wonderfully mentioned is that it means so much for communities of color, especially for Latinx communities, that we have a leader who shows up, and more than just showing up, that we have a leader who listens and who is willing to care for our community the way that, Joe, you have demonstrated to do, especially during this pandemic where many of communities of color have been disproportionately affected. You have been there, you have listened, and you have done the work for us. So we really want to get you there. We want to make sure that you become our next senator, but we need to get the work done. And as Mayor Spicer has already mentioned, there is energy, there's excitement, especially in our Latino community. Our community is filled with hope. And we know that you have so much to offer for us. Every time we make calls, it is so easy to get through them because everyone keeps saying Kennedy, 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 and how they're going to go out there and vote for you. Our rallies are always so packed with Latinos who are waiting eagerly to embrace you and really stand out there, rain or shine, with your signs to ensure that people know that it's election season and that they should be voting for you. But that being said, I cannot emphasize this enough. We all have to be hands on deck. Así que para las personas que nos están escuchando, solo tenemos 7 días, quedan 7 días y necesitamos la ayuda de todos ustedes, haciendo llamadas, enviando mensajes de texto o simplemente hablando con sus vecinos, con sus familiares y decirles que pueden votar temprano, que pueden votar en persona el 1 de septiembre, pero los necesitamos a todos para así poder tener un nuevo senador como Joe Kennedy. So I'll say it again, it's important that we all reach out to our neighbors, to our friends, to our families, and let them know that we should be voting for Joe. We need everyone sending text messages, making calls, talking to neighbors, and letting them know that election season is here. You can vote early. You can vote on September 1st. All hands on deck. We need to get out the vote. So for everyone who's joined us, right after this event, you will receive a toolkit so you can start this process. Así que ya saben, van a recibir un toolkit especial después de este evento para que empiecen a correr la voz. Así que a votar. Let's go out there and vote. And as they say, I'm fired up and ready to go. And now it is my honor to actually kick things off to an exciting group of young individuals who are anxiously waiting here to give a few words and their updates. So now I kick it off to Students for Kennedy.
Thanks, Judith. Hi, everyone. My name's Abby, and I'm a field organizer with the campaign. Behind me are 6 amazing students for Kennedy who want to share some stories straight from the field. And we couldn't ask for a more inspiring candidate who fights every day for a better future. So first up, we have Tess Herdman from American University.
Hi Hi everyone, I'm Tess Herdman from Northborough, Massachusetts. We're working in such an unprecedented time, and it's a time where people need to know that their voice is being heard more now than ever. So many of the people that we've spoken to in the field have never gotten the chance to connect with their elected officials before. But we are making the effort to change that, and Joe is leading the fight to make sure that every single person in Massachusetts knows that their voice matters, the issues that are important to them matter, and that he is fighting for them every single day with this team at his side. And it's been such an honor to be able to watch him show up for the people every single day. And I'm so glad to be part of it. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Isabella McKinnon. I'm from Wellesley, and I'm a freshman at George Washington University. And I joined this campaign at the beginning of the pandemic when we were making senior calls to just check in with seniors. And I was so nervous at first to just cold call random people, but it was instantly made so much better by just the community that were the Zoom banks. We would just Zoom each other, we would share funny stories, funny calls, and we'd hype each other up when we had a particularly strange one. And it was such a community, even though we had yet to actually meet each other in person. I've met such a great group of interns, and I'll never forget my first political standout, standing on the side of a freeway with Ellie blasting music, everyone just waving at the cars. And these people are absolutely incredible, and they're really the heart and soul of this campaign, and it's been such an honor to work with them.
Hi, my name is Emily. I'm also from Wellesley, and I'm an incoming first year at Harvard College. I also help run the JK3 Young Leaders program for high school students, and these kids continuously inspire me with their hard work and dedication to these phone calls. Also, like Izzy, I completely agree. This community on this campaign has been so special to me. I have forged friendships in Zoom rooms, at socially distanced rallies, like the one where we're at the side of the highway. And I know those friendships will last long after September 1st. And I'm super excited with 1 week out in this election to bring with other young people to bring the vote and win and elect Joe Kennedy as our next senator.
Hi, my name is Gabby, and I go to Tufts University. I have loved working on this campaign so far in the field, getting to talk to all of the passionate voters and volunteers, working so hard to help get Joe Kennedy elected. I think it's really honestly reminded me of why I wanted to be in politics in the first place, because while some days it can be really hard just calling people over and over and telling them to vote for Joe, in the end, I've had some fantastic times just talking to people as they tell me about how I work a lot in Joe's home district of MA4. And I remember one woman telling me how no one would help her. She called a bunch of government offices, get her son's Pell Grant problems fixed. And she called Joe's office, and they were the only ones that were really willing to follow up and help her. And watching Joe talk to people in 90-degree heat in the middle of standouts really showed me like what it means to be a politician. So thanks.
Hi, my name is Ellie, and I'm a third-year student at the University of Chicago, and I'm from Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. One of my favorite parts about working on Team Kennedy is that we really are a team. Just as Emily said, we really all just became really close friends in the Zoom rooms together. Whether that was because we were phone banking together, we were text banking, we were getting kids together. I'm also one of the leaders of the Young Leaders program. We just wanted to make sure that everyone's voice was heard and that no task was too small. Everything matters, and every vote counts, and every person that we were talking to, we wanted to make sure that they were heard, and we all came together united by that mission. So I'm so honored to be a part of Team Kennedy, and I'm really excited to help bring the vote home on September 1. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Holly, and I'm a senior at Boston College. I first met Joe Kennedy my freshman year when he came to speak on our campus, and I've been following his political career ever since. So I've seen Joe speak on the Hill, and I've seen him speak on the Trail, but there's kind of a common theme. Joe shows up. Joe continually fights for progressive issues and for all people of Massachusetts, both at home and in DC. And so I'm so excited this summer to spend during the pandemic and then continuing to the summer on the campaign, both virtually and in person.
The other day, I was lucky enough to join a few local MA residents in dropping literature in one of the largest precincts in Cambridge, and knocked about 200 doors myself, and it was a really fun time. And I'd invite anyone who hasn't dropped lit before to come out and join us, because we're a fun team, and show up for Joe.
Thank you so much, ladies, and thank you, Madam Speaker, for your support. So next, I'll kick it back to you, Madam Speaker. Thanks again.
Well, thank you so much. It was wonderful to be here with all of you, certainly with Andrea, and I was so honored to be introduced by Anna and Mayor Spicer and Councilor Garcia. Let me just say a couple of things. Mayor Spicer, your comments about yourself as a little girl and how you were inspired by Shirley Chisholm and the rest, that was so remarkable. I am another representative from Brooklyn. Hakeem Jeffries, who's the chair of the House Democratic Caucus, is a proud supporter of Joe Kennedy. So I wanted to make that Brooklyn connection to you here. We're very proud of Hakeem. He, as I said, the chair of the House Democratic Caucus. And I think he'll be with you tomorrow, Joe, or virtually or otherwise. Yep. And to Judith, when you were speaking, I couldn't, in this young woman speaking, a counselor, I was thinking of Dolores Huerta, and I'm so proud to join her in supporting Joe Kennedy, because if she were here, she would be saying, as you know, she said, yes, we can, we're going to Joe. But she has made a beautiful statement in support of Joe and his support for the Latinx community. And again, to Andrea, thank you for your just enthusiasm and your report on what's going on the campaign trail. But I hope you will indulge me as I speak to the students for Joe, because you know, I call you the VIPs, the very important people, the volunteers in politics. You are the ones who make the connection with people. You bring their stories back, and you take Joe's message to them. So thank you for that. I especially thank, as a former chair of the California Democratic Party, I worship at the shrine of the volunteers. But I especially salute you at a time of a pandemic, a time of economic crisis in our country, where with all the challenges I know your families and your communities face, you have given a priority to fight for the future, to fight for Joe, students for Joe, to go out there. So I know, because Joe has told me again and again how much he values what you do. And while you may be inspired by him, what he shares with us is how inspired he is by each and every one of you, pinning your hopes, your dreams on Joe. And again, we all benefit from that. So I salute you. I'm excited to see all of you telling your personal stories, and we can all put ourselves in that position of early on knocking at the door and the courage it takes. And then you kind of get used to it, and then it's a wonderful thing. And now hopefully others will follow you. And who knows where your destiny will be. But one thing I know you'll always be proud of is that you were there to elect Joe Kennedy, Senator from Massachusetts. So again, at this time, it is just a remarkable time, just a number of days left. Every minute counts. We don't want to waste any time. We don't want to underutilize any resource. We don't want to have any regrets the day after the election, right, Madam Mayor? We just want to make sure that everything that can be done will be done, and to exercise the beautiful right to vote, which some are trying to jeopardize now coming out of Washington, D.C., the White House. But we cannot let that stand in the way. You are where our democracy began in many ways in Massachusetts. As you fight this fight, you will continue to promote the values of our founders, the aspiration of our children, and of course, courage of our men and women in uniform. And that word courage takes me back to Joe. Joe, thank you for your courage to run. Lauren, thank you for your courage to support all of this. It's a family issue, a family affair. Joe, congratulations to you on your campaign. I wish you much success. Whatever I can do to help, I will certainly be there to communicate to your constituents. They may not want to hear from an outsider, but they may want to know from the inside of Congress why so many of us who know you best in your official duties support your candidacy. Thank you, Joe. Good luck to you. God bless you all. God bless America. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I am incredibly humbled and honored as always. Thank you for your time tonight. You've got more than a few things that you're juggling. COVID response, economic depression, the health and safety of our democracy, multiple international challenges. How you juggle it all is still a mystery, I think, to all of us. For those of us that have had the extraordinary honor of chocolate, yes. I'm not quite Ghirardelli, but we're close. It's 7 days after my campaign. If we're not going squarely on coffee and candy at this point, it's not a campaign, but we are. So I've taken that lesson from you as well. But it is, look, I think just briefly here, if you'll indulge me, you heard from an extraordinary series of our volunteers, young women who are inspired, I think, Madam Speaker, by the example that you said. You heard from Mayor Spicer, who is, by the way, she did not mention this, but I will. Madam Speaker, if you can imagine it, you referenced Massachusetts as one of the birthplaces of our nation. She's the first Black female democratically elected mayor in our history. And yes, she does deserve applause for that. So when she talks about when she references the inspiration from Shirley Chisholm and what that moment meant for that little girl, who is now a mayor and made history in her own right, to the connection that is made to another series of young leaders that are just on the opposite side of this wall, and the people that they themselves have touched over the course of this campaign, because of the example that you set for them and you set for all of us. The example that you set for my little girl, but the example that you set for me about the ability of government to actually make a difference in people's lives. As you told me once a long time ago, that when there were those protests decades ago, you were down there leading them, right? I dissent, and demanding better of our government, better of our country, demanding better of people, of a structure to see the decency and the dignity of our people and to fight for it. And you have led it and led us and our caucus and our nation through some incredibly perilous and difficult times. And you do it, and somehow with dignity and grace, and an extraordinary amount of cool that comes with it. So we are so grateful to you tonight. I am grateful for your friendship and your mentorship and what you have done for me in this campaign, and inspired once again over 1,000 people that at one point turned onto this call, and so many others that will take this message. And so to all of you, one week left. Phone calls, text messages, emails, people in line at Dunkin' Donuts, your friends, your colleagues, your cousins, your nephews, your nieces, your aunts, your uncles, whoever you know, reach out to them. You're getting a toolkit, okay? Open that email up. We need you, all right? Whatever we can do. More people, we have more support in this state than anybody else. The more people that vote, the better we do. So there's nothing that he can do about that. This is all on us. This is all on us. We get to shape our own destiny here. Get out there and do it. And that's what we will do. And yes.
May I just say one thing? Of course, I'm going to yield to you. Have the last word. I'm so inspired by what you have said. I was ready to run out there and knock on. That's not allowed. But let me just say this, because I think this is really important. And I love what you said about Mayor Spicer. I think this is really important because you use the word mentorship at the end, and that's when I start waving my hands. You thank me for my mentorship, but I thank you for yours. You should know that when Joe came, he came, as I say, with confidence in his commitment to a better future, but with humility and listening to others. He studied the place, and then he mentored us. he mentored us. He said, here's how I think we could engage the newer members in a more full way. Here's how I think we should modernize the Congress. All of these things about a fresh eyes on the subject for the House of Representatives. And it made a difference. We established a modernization committee. We changed the election system so that new members of fewer than just a few terms could be the vice chairs of the committees. And much of that was under Joe's leadership, bringing people together. And by the way, when you try to make change, occasionally it can be contentious, right, Joe? But it wasn't. It was because of his consensus building and the rest. We made those changes, and the Congress is a different, much more invigorated place with new members than without them. And of course, we thank him for helping us win the majority in 2018, but not only win, but to engage those new members in a fuller way. So I thank you for your mentorship.
Madam Speaker, you are too generous as always. The place is invigorated because everybody tries to keep up with you and nobody can, and that's the fact. But we are grateful for your time tonight, and I know you've got many more steps to walk before you sleep. So I will let you go. Get back to saving our democracy, our postal service, keeping our president in line, COVID response, healthcare and economy, making sure small businesses are able to function and we're able to provide for our families. And whatever else you have to do before you rest your head tonight. But we are grateful for you and for the example that you set for all of us.
Right.
And everybody tonight, thank you. So grateful for you. Let's go win an election because it's going to be an awful lot of fun for the week ahead. All right. Sleep on Tuesday or sleep on, sleep on Wednesday. Sleep on Wednesday. There you go. Thanks, everybody.